Hey there, Chad Roberts, and in this episode of the Team Builder series, really fortunate to have a visit with Tobi Millrood of the Millrood law firm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you ever had a chance to work on a big litigation project with Tobi, you ought to think about doing it. You'll see some of the best examples of team building and someone with a lot of experience at bringing a lot of lawyers and a lot of law firms together to make one big virtual law firm with great work product and great results. No accident that Tobi's peers have elected him to be the current president-elect of American Association for Justice, which is where we caught up with Tobi at AAJ Midwinter in New Orleans, Louisiana. So enjoy our visit with Tobi here.
I'm Tobi Millrood from the law firm of Millrood, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Tobi, good morning. We're here at AAJ Winter 2020 in New Orleans. Over my shoulder is a beautiful view of the river and the Crescent City. And we appreciate getting time on your dance card, man, because I know you're also the vice president of AAJ this year.
President-elect.
President-elect.
Yep.
Wow. Tobi, on this playlist on our channel, we're getting to meet lawyers who drive very large, very complex litigation projects with a lot of moving parts and a lot of law firms involved. And the management of a campaign like that is a recognized skill set in and of itself. You know, as plaintiffs lawyers by disposition, you know, we tend to be lone wolves, and then in the contemporary practice, when we get an opportunity to tackle a large, complicated case that we've always aspired to, turns out lone wolf doesn't work out so well. Could you share with us, if you would, your experience growing into this level of work professionally and how you approach it?
I know from the outset that what we do is truly David versus Goliath, right? So yes. We're not going to take down Big Pharma with a single slingshot and a single rock. That's just the reality. And for a long time, the playing field was not even because it was a lone wolf against Big Pharma.
Right.
And quickly we caught on that the way to at least get the playing field a little bit more even was to create an army of one. And so we did that. We started collaborating with one another. We each would have our own clients, but the work that we would do collectively and collaboratively would multiply the number of slingshots being shot at Goliath. And now, I think in many, many cases, we've changed the playing field to being able to play downhill because we have an army of one and we can take it to them with that.
It's true. Disclosure to our folks, we've worked on projects, and no one on one of your projects ever has any reason to not know what the big picture is, to not know what the big game plan is. One of the things you do well is communicate, and then there's probably a lot that goes behind in the scenes that we don't see, but everybody feels like, I know what my little contribution is, my component is, but I also understand the big picture. How do you help keep one team, one vision, one goal, one focus? Everybody knows the strategy. How do you do that?
It's funny you talk about being here in the Crescent City. My schooling was here.
Seriously?
I'm a graduate of Tulane University.
Oh.
And my studies were in communications. That's my major. And I have an incredibly firm belief that effective leadership comes from effective communications and transparent communications.
Right.
And in any of these cases to succeed, you need people to have buy-in.
Yeah.
You need people to feel empowered. And the only way that happens is if you communicate effectively, frequently, transparently. And that's always a big part of my leadership strategy when I'm leading a team is I'm going to communicate, I'm going to be clear about what action items are, who's responsible, what our external deadlines are, what our internal deadlines are, I'm going to keep that punch list going. I'm going to circle back around for quality control, and I think that's good leadership. Well, here's the thing. I mean, when we do these cases, it's not just a chess match. It's multi-dimensional chess. So it's layers of chess tables on top of each other, and you have to tell your team not just what the next move is, but what are the next several moves that are going to allow us to win at each different level.
Cool.
Because at the same time you're doing discovery, there's things going on in science, there's things going on in pleadings and motion practice, and you've got to go several steps ahead, and you got to communicate that. So
one of the things to segue to our next subject, which is specifically to discovery, which is why people come here, we do a lot of work with single event cases and sole practitioners where they're first stumbling into putting together a team and managing different components in different law firms, and what I call the general contractor approach. They stop thinking of themselves as everything, and they scale up for an appropriate project, and then they scale down, right? So when it comes to I know the cost of discovery is a big threshold issue for plaintiffs now to stay in the game and to not be bled to death in a project. And what are your thoughts about how to help manage that and manage risk and balance the spend and the exposure and the risk with a case?
You know, first and foremost, by nature, on the plaintiff side, a lot of times we're about stamping out fires, right? So it's whatever is in the moment. And the first thing in terms of managing that risk is you cannot approach discovery by just considering it to be a fire that you have to stamp out. You have to be proactive and you have to be early about it. We've been on the other side of late from the defendants weaponizing proportionality, right? So
yes.
What they want to say is no matter how small or big your case is, you're asking for too much.
Right.
And the way you manage risk and the way you manage cost is by taking what might otherwise seem to be a tough hand and making it into a good hand. We can re-weaponize proportionality in our favor and say, you know what? We're not going to ask for too much. We're going to be very discreet about what we're asking for. Targeted discovery. And we're going to have the expectation so that we're both on the same page about proportionality. We are going to make proportional requests, and you're going to be responsive to that. And that gives you a lot of upper hand. First of all, it manages your cost.
Yes.
It manages the risk, but also it maintains your credibility with the courts. Because now, when the defendants want to give you a dump of documents and try to push cost on you, you get to come to the court and say, wait a second. They're always here to complain about proportionality. Judge, we want to be proportional.
Goes two ways.
Goes two ways. We want to do targeted discovery, and we want discrete answers to our discrete questions. That will give you credibility and will cut your costs, and it will manage your risk.
There's a whole game plan to that. I know it's bigger than the scope of our chat today, but staying ahead of the proportionality optics is a whole dance and ballet in itself.
Yep.
So what kinds of things, I know you're now at the highest levels of worrying about access to justice now as the president-elect of AAJ. These big issues of, I call it a death of a thousand cuts, one barrier after another on so many different fronts where it runs up costs, it runs up barriers, it runs up challenges to people just getting to get in front of a jury and tell them their story and ask for a fair outcome. What kinds of things can AAJ do to help folks that need some help with electronic discovery? And then just the larger picture of how to cooperate and work together.
I mean, first and foremost, you can be educated in a safe space,
yes,
in a plaintiff's only space with the highest echelon of people in that area. So when you come to AAJ, what you know is that you're going to get education that's going to advance your practice and keep you on the cutting edge. I think sometimes lawyers get into just bad habits of doing the same old, same old. And then what you find out is you get into a case and the other side is using the latest cutting edge discovery technique and you're not up to speed on that. By engaging in AAJ and being active in its litigation groups, by going to electronic discovery meetings, you can be on the cutting edge so that you know the latest. You know, too many people reach into that virtual filing cabinet and put forward the protective order from 5 years ago and say, yeah, this is the protective order I like to use. What you find out when you come to AAJ is that 5-year-old protective order is a dinosaur.
It's out of date.
It's out of date. And you want to use the latest, the greatest, and the one that gives you advantage. So AAJ gives you that. It gives you knowledge. It also gives you community. You're not alone.
Right.
You get to be on listservs, you get to be in litigation groups, and you get to compare notes across states, across practice areas that make you understand that you're not in this fight alone and you're with other like-minded people that want to take it to the other side.
Right.
And of course, you get networking.
Sure.
You know, when you come to AAJ and you're just having a casual conversation about electronic discovery, what you end up finding out is that the Jim or Jane that you're sitting next to is an opportunity to share cases, to refer cases, to get cases referred to you. So I really look at AAJ as incredible strength in providing knowledge and community and networking.
Great. And behind the scenes, it's protecting people's consumers. And, you know, I'm always led on the guilt thing, but I know you guys are carrying a lot of bricks for a lot of people nationally. And it's appreciated, and I just want to thank you guys and your leadership for it. Any parting shots for the good of the order you can think of?
You know, your last point's a really good one, that without AAJ advocacy, I think people wouldn't really appreciate and understand just how much stealth tort reform is going on behind the scenes. It's not necessarily just a bill that comes down in the House or the Senate. It's an administrative regulation. It's an amicus that's filed with a court. And so that layer of advocacy and protection that we provide is critical to the practice. I just hope that people watching this will be engaged, participate, raise their hand, be ready to communicate, be part of the team, and be ready to sling those slingshots for victory.
Tobi, thanks so much for your time today, and I'll let you get back to the task at hand, and it's always a pleasure to get together with you and keep up the fight.
Thanks, Chad.